Performance.
Well done.
Okay, we see how to record this program, and now I'll try to help Mr. to co-host the training. Know if it is possible here. Let me check it as well. Plus, yes. Yes, okay, it is done. We can,
all right.
We can start here now. You're welcome, sir. I'm Dr. Moueleu Pierre, certified consultant trainer in HSE, road traffic safety and operational performance. Also certified as a lead auditor on the ISO 9001. The person who can audit or who can lead a team for audit. Also lead implementer, the person who can implement the requirements of different standards. ISO 9001, 21001. 9001 is based on quality management. 21001 is based on educational system management program. 39001 is about road traffic safety management, and we have the 45001 that is based on occupational health and safety, and it is what we see. I'm based in Cameroon. I'm a head of consultancy firm, consulting structure, having activities in different companies. Now I'm here today as a person in charge of OSHAssociation in Cameroon, and to share with you this training on the hazards and risk. Hazards and risk management. We are supposed today to be able to manage hazards and risks at our workplace. So to know exactly how it is done, as we can be able to do it with general objectives of understanding what is hazard, understanding the place of ISO standards in risk management, to be able to assess the level of risk, to be able to select appropriate risk control. That are the objectives or specific objectives that we have for this training section. We have here to talk about the basics on hazards and risk. Also the risk management standards. What are different standards that are applied on risk management? We are going to talk about. We also have the fact that we are also going to talk about the risk assessment. So when there are risks in a company, how can we assess those risks, and also to provide, to address actions to face all those risks. And we should know, as introduction of this presentation, that there are many cases of accidents in the workplace, and all those cases are due to the fact that there are about 2.9 billion workers across the world who are exposed to hazardous risk at their workplace. And the hazard is known as something that can harm or any source of potential damage in that we can have at our workplace or at everywhere we can be. I'm trying to remove these things in yellow. I don't know exactly how to proceed for it. Somebody can help me how to remove this in yellow. Okay, it is like going and it's just still coming back. I don't know why. While waiting for it to go alone, I was precising that hazard is any source of potential damage, harm, or adverse have effects. Adverse have effect on something, or someone. And the risk is known as the chance or probability that a person will be harmed or experience an adverse health effect if exposed to hazards. So risk can also obviously presented as the exposure to the hazards. So if you are exposed to hazards, you are creating a situation in which we can qualify it like a risk. It may also apply to situations where property or equipment loss, where there are property or equipment loss and harmful effects on the environment. We also talk about hazards when it is about environment. And now, coming back to what we are presenting today, it is about the basics of hazards and risk. Basics on hazards and risk. And here's presentation that what we are going to start by presenting here will be what is a risk. The risk is determined through considering the likelihood and consequence by using a risk matrix. So what is the likelihood and the consequence if there is an accident that occurs? The occupational risk refers to the likelihood that an injury or illness will occur as a result of exposure to workplace hazards. Thus, two injuries that are equally likely but not equally severe will pose different levels of workplace risk. So when you have to assess risk, you ask yourself, what is the likelihood and also what is the severity or what is the consequence of the risk. By taking those two elements, you will be able, by drawing maybe a table, to analyze the risk and to know the level of, to know its level. The example, likelihood and consequences of somebody slipping on the spilled water and sustaining an injury. An injury, there the likelihood will be possible, consequence moderate, and the risk is high. While going to the risk assessment, we will see exactly how to manage to have this, to know exactly what is to be considered as the level of the risk. And we should know that to have a fatality situation, we have what we call the iceberg effect. The iceberg effect is that is the fact that when you have somebody who dies in a company due to an accident, it means that you had more than 300,000 at-risk behaviors without putting in place appropriate actions. You also had up to 3,000 near misses, 300 recordable injuries, 30 lost workday cases. When having all this and you are not putting in place suitable actions, that all those things can lead to have somebody dying on your workplace. So trying to understand what to do to avoid accident is to be able to act on each element before all those things can lead to an accident. That's why we will advise you in your workplace to be able to identify at-risk behaviors, the near misses, recordable injuries, and so on, as you should be able to address actions to face all those elements. Continuing here with occupational hazards, we are going to present definitions of some elements concerning occupational hazards. It is not like any workplace condition that causes a risk to employees' health. Different types according to OSHA exist, different types of occupational hazards. So their classification leads to have to know that they are chemicals made of all those hazardous chemicals and toxins that can be used at the workplace. We also have biological hazards made of farms, zoos, and so on that we can find at the workplace. And all those elements that can be found at those different places are considered here to be biological hazards. We can have the blood, we can have fungi, molds, viruses, animal droppings, and also insect bites. And also we have physical occupational hazards. Here it is about things that can be directly environment, the hazards that we have body. We don't need to touch. Actually, we have radiations, prolonged exposure to sunlight, extreme height and low temperatures, and also the loud noise where at the workplace. And there is a particular threshold concerning the noise, the level of noise at the workplace. And I would like by the end of this to know it, the value is the exact value in your country. Hazards are known as those linked to the way the person is working, the way the person is using his body during the work. And you may just feel sore or cramped in the short term, but repeatedly sitting and standing in a particular positions or completing the same movement over and over across a long period of time, all this can lead to a long-term injury or an illness. All this due to a particular problem of ergonomy. Work organizations hazards. Here it is due to the way people are, how people are living at the workplace. So here the violence, harassment, and has hazardous to the mental, emotional, and physical health. We also have safety. I've just put this aside because all what we are doing is quite about safety. But when OSHA is trying to classify this, the different hazards, they also have what they call safety hazards. And here it includes any conditions, substances, and objects that can injure a worker, like walking from heights, space on floors, also machinery with moving parts, and that can go up to cut peoples, and so on. We have confined spaces, stairs, also exposed electrical wiring. And now there are things that we can do at our workplace to be sure that it is safe. And now it will depend on the exact type of work that you are doing and the place where you are. But there are some principles that apply no matter where you work and what you are doing, like a job. You should keep your workplace clean. So your workplace should be clean and free of all things that can cause an accident. You should be sure that you address appropriately, and also those who are working with you, and that the dress that you are wearing can also be a part of barrier to avoid accidents. That's why we have at our workplaces after risk assessment. And when the residual risk leads to understand that there are that PPEs can be useful. At that moment, you will ask to your people to wear the PPEs, personal protective equipment. Lift, bend, and stretch carefully to avoid injury. Don't operate tools, equipment, and machinery that you have not been trained on to use. So do not use alcohol or drugs on the job. Take breaks as needed. Needs know and follow all emergency procedures, including locations of emergency exits, first aid kits, and also the fire extinguishers that you have in your company. So here are some tips that you are supposed to apply to have a safe workplace. The risk assessment. Here we are talking about the tools that can be used every day, the tools that can be used every day to really manage your workplace in terms of occupational health and safety. The main tool is the risk assessment, and it is what we are going to see today. The main tool is the risk assessment, and with the risk assessment, we are supposed to prepare the assessment, or the risk evaluation. You are supposed to prepare it. Preparing it is to find out the documents that you need, trying to draw maybe the table that will lead you to really analyze the risk. Also, you should decide on the different places that you are supposed, where you are supposed to act in order to really provide, to really analyze the risk as you it deserves. So now, after having the preparation, the next step is to identify the hazards. What are different hazards that we have at this workplace? And what you have in your, you should have in your mind while working on this is to ask yourself, what can lead harm? Let me manage this noise. Where is it coming from? Okay, it's done. Okay, so you ask yourself, what are different hazards that you have here? You are maybe in a particular company where people are working. You should ask yourself, around you, what can lead to injury? What can be a potential source of injury or damage? When you look and identify all those elements, you precise maybe in the table. So you can have a column where it is precise hazards. And then after the column of hazard, you have the column of risk. What are the risks that can come from those different hazards? So identifying the risk, and then ask yourself for each risk, what is its level of criticality? And the level of criticality is what we call here to analyze the criticality of risk. And we have it by putting together the severity and the likelihood of the risk to have the normal level at the end. And you should ask yourself then, what are the main risks? So you prioritize the risk and propose the actions. What could be the actions that you are going to put in place? And for each actions to address those risks, we should monitor to be sure that there is a real implementation of actions that we have proposed on the field. That is the first tools in occupational health and safety. The second one, that's for you. So if you are supposed to manage occupational health and safety in your company, the first element that you should keep in your mind will be to carry out a risk assessment. If you are directly recruited in the company as occupational health and safety manager there, you will ask yourself, what are the main risks? It's true that when you are recruited, they can maybe precise that there is a particular standard on which you are supposed to work in your company. At that moment, you take the standard, try to take in your company if all the requirements of the standards are already applied. If no, you will carry out, so you carry first what they call a diagnosis or audit. By taking the standard, reading element by element or requirements by requirements, asking yourself if each of those requirements are already fulfilled in your company. You can then be able for each requirement to precise if yes, it is the requirement is fulfilled, or no, or if it is done partially, so it is already, or it is ongoing. It's up to you to see exactly how you are going to manage it. So if you already designed it like that, and that you are supposed to propose, if you have designed it like that, you will be able at the end to precise the result, like saying that for amount 300 requirements that we have, the company was already covering 200 requirements, and this can lead you to precise that, okay, we have up to 66 or 67% of requirement that are covered. Now, when you have it like that, for the requirements that are not fulfilled, you ask yourself, who will do that? How are we going to proceed? How the person is going to proceed? What could be the deadline for it? And also, who will control? That is the first element here. And we come back on it. The next tool that can be used in the company will be the accident analysis. If you are a safety manager in the company, it is up to you to carry out accident analysis. You can use the 5WH. So who, what, where, when, then how. For example, in your company, you are transporting the fuel. You have company with that transports the fuels, and then at a particular moment, there is an accident with your car, and all the fuel are on the way, or maybe in a particular farm. You can try now to investigate to know exactly what are the causes of the accident. While investigating, you can ask yourself who, what, when, where, and how. Who were driving the car? The name can be given. Why that person? The person, because it is the person in charge of it. It is somebody who is trained for it. It is somebody who is experienced on it, and so on. Are you precise? What the fuel was, the fuel, there is an accident, and then the fuel is in the farm. When? In the morning. Why? Maybe. Why? You should precise because there was a particular problem on the way, or maybe other cause. And then how have all those things happen? And you should find out the result. We also have the 5 why, because you ask yourself why the fuel is down on the ground, and the result could be just the fact that the car went down. Why the car went down? You should have a result. Why that result? Then why another result that is coming? By going up to 5 whys, you can have the root cause of the accident. By going up to 5, maybe generally up to the third why, you are having your results. You can maybe ask yourself in your in your life, what are problems, why such problem such problem is coming, and you should be able to analyze by using the 5 why, and generally by the third one, you will notice that you personally, you are the problem of your life and not somebody else. We also have what we call the 5M. So methods, mean, and so on, up to 5M, that will lead you to really understand what you are doing in the company. It is what they call the Ishikawa diagram. We have the tree of causes. The tree of causes that is made from the situation that happened, and you are going up to find out what could be the real cause of the situation. That's why we call the tree of causes. We also have the brainstorming. The brainstorming is a kind of meeting in which you sit down with people about a particular situation. You ask yourself, why is it like that? What could be done? And so on. And together you decide about what you're supposed to maintain. We also have a checklist that you can produce a checklist that will help you in face of a particular situation of accident to find out exactly what you need. We have logic and inventory diagrams. It is quite the same thing with the tree of diagram that we gave here. We have the causal factor determination that can be done by the way that you desire, and it will be up to you to find out the main way that could be easy to understand, could be easy to reproduce to, and to have quite the same result as you. Organizational tools that can be used for you as a safety manager in the company. You are supposed to monitor the indicators, the KPIs. You should find out the KPIs that are suitable for your company and follow or monitor those KPIs. And with the results that we have there, you can decide the next step. We have the toolbox meeting. The toolbox meeting is a meeting that generally takes place in the morning for up to 15 minutes, quite every morning. That is when you are in a particular company where the level of risk is important. Every morning it will take place a particular meeting in which we are going to talk about the safety. At the beginning, it can be different topics that will be discussed there will come from the safety manager, but at a certain moment you can see how to share with those who are working there, and also you can, the situation, the moment can be suitable for those who like to share their feedback of what they live, of what they face in terms of safety, and also how they manage to be still alive or maybe to be well. We also have safety meeting. It is a meeting that can go up to 2 hours or 3 hours with the top management and people in charge of occupational health and people in charge of occupational health and safety in the company. We have awareness. We should have a particular program of awareness. We have the flash safety. Flash safety is when there is a particular accident and that you can snap the accident, then try to print it in color, maybe with the blood on it, and paste in your company. As everybody will see the situation, it will lead the person to think about it. And there are many things that you can produce like that to help people to be informed related to occupational health and safety. And also, there's a particular way, another way that I've seen in the transport company. In that transport company, because they have the trucks and they used to have accidents, they ask to all the workers there to come with the pictures of their children, or with one of the children, one of those children at home, the picture. What they did with passport picture that they came with, they took the pictures, and for each driver, they paste the picture on the dashboard, and they put on the dashboard at the threshold of the speed that they wanted them not to go beyond. So they pasted it on the where they wanted them to stop in terms of speed, and they were informed that every time you will go beyond this picture, or when you will reach this picture, just keep in your mind that you are planning to leave your children alone or and die. So it'll be up to you. If you want your children to remain orphans, it's up to you to choose. So every time you are reaching the picture, keep in your mind that you are leaving your children orphans. And we also have training. You should have a training program about different topics in terms of occupational health and safety in your company. And we also have the permit to work, the job safety analysis. The job safety analysis is the fact that when it is a document that is designed as a risk analysis of a particular activity. So you have a particular activity, a particular task to carry out in the company. You can draw a particular risk analysis of that activity, and it is what they call job safety analysis. When you come in the company, maybe you are coming there as you are coming there to have a particular task in the company, and when you reach there, the occupational health and safety manager of the company, the safety officer, can ask you to draw the job safety analysis. When you will do it for the activity that you are supposed to carry out in that company, the safety manager will take and check the job safety analysis that you did. It is a document in which you are going to precise the hazards from the activity that you are going to carry out. What are the hazards? And besides hazards, ask yourself what could be the risk coming from those hazards. And besides the risk, what is the criticity of the risk? Then what are the measures that you are proposing, or the measures that are proposed to avoid those risks to go up to accidents? When it is done like that, when things are done like that, with a particular design, as we precise, it is up to the safety manager to confirm on the field, then give what we can call authorization to those people to work, and it is what they call permit to work. The permit to work can be for 2 hours, for 3 hours, and so on. We also continue with activities that the safety manager is supposed to carry out day by day in the company. We also have the safety visit or inspection. When you see the safety manager going in the company, working in the company to check things that are done, which is what they call safety visit or inspection. We have the self-assessment of activities that you are having in your company. You can also carry out such assessment. We have external assessment too that can be done. So you can call a particular structure to come and assess what we are for this. Here it is about requirements, or what are different legal requirements in your company, in your country, that are applied to your company related to occupational health and safety. Do you have in your company an occupational health and safety committee? Is it asked by the law of your country? And so on. In the case of Cameroon, there is a order 039 of the 26th of November 1984 that is known as the main test on occupational health and safety, and that is still used till today. There's also the collective protections that you can use in terms of safety management. We have the beaconing, the anti-explosion hood, anti-noise cabin, anti-vibration floor. We also have for individual protection or personal protective protection. We have here the shoes, helmet, outfit, goggles. We also have filter mask, harness, and we also we also use here the safety signs and symbols in the company to manage risk in our companies. Let's go to the second part. We are just introducing the lesson by precising exactly what could be the activities to carry out in order to manage safety in your company. Now, what are the risk management standards that are used to manage risk? Risk management, like ILO-OSH 2001, it is what they call International Labor Organizations, Occupational Safety and Health 2001. There are people of international labor organizations who put themselves together to write down the guidelines on occupational safety, on occupational health and safety, yes, requirements, and occupational health and health management system. There's also ISO 39000 that provides principles and guidelines for effective risk management. These standards can be used for in all types of companies and for all types of risk. That's why those in banks also use this for financial risk. And we have ISO 27005 that defines the process of analyzing what could happen and what the consequences might be in a company. We have the ISO 45000 family made of ISO 45001, 45002, 45003, all those standards that are known like main standards in occupational health and safety are those that are used in the world. What about the 25,000 family, ISO 25,000 family? They are mainly based on occupational health and safety, and the main one is ISO 45001 that was published in 2018 based on occupational health and safety management systems, giving the requirements with their guidance for use. We have 2045002 that gave for occupational health and safety management system. It gives the general guidelines for the application of the standard. We have 45002 first part that is based on the guidance on managing occupational health. We have second part, general guidelines for the application of ISO 45001, risk and opportunities. We have 25002, third part, with the guidance on accident investigations. So you can decide to learn to emphasize on accident investigations, and you can be one of the reference in your country in terms of accident investigation. And what you can produce at that moment as report can have more value than what the policeman will produce or what the armed man can produce. We have 45003 that is based on psychological health and safety at work. It is this part that we cover the management of risk harassment, and violences in the company. We have 45005 that was published in 2020 based on general guidelines for safe working during COVID-19 pandemic. So there is a particular standard on COVID-19, how to manage the company in terms of occupational health and safety while living with COVID-19 pandemic. And now, with the main standard that is here, the main standard is ISO 45001. What is that standard? What do we have inside? What is the importance of having standards? What can be the help of standards for you in your company in occupational health and safety management that you are going to put in place? As we said, there is a ILO, International Labour Organization, that wrote a standard in 2001, but there is another one, this, that was produced in 2018, and that is supposed to be the main standard in the world. And as you can check, if the most applied standard of occupational health and safety now in the world, and it replaced what they used to call OSHA, published in 2007, and OSHA was replaced by this standard on the 12th of March 2018. What is it exactly? Here are the key highlights of this on these standards. It is for all types of organizations. So if you are in the product, service, governmental, non-governmental, education, healthcare, and so on, this standard can be applied. All size also apply for all size organizations. International, it is internationally recognized, and it is easy to manage it, to implement it at the same moment with other standards like ISO 9001, ISO 14001 based on environment. And all these, they can be put together because all those standards are known today like HLS standards, high-level structure standards, due to the fact that those standards have 10 articles or clauses of chapters, and those 10 articles are well organized, like it will be very easy to integrate all those standards. It also helps. These standards also address activities to identify and control occupational health and safety hazards and risk. And that's why I'm emphasizing on it, because the standard gives many things in order to manage your company, not only in terms of occupational health and safety of different tasks, no, but in terms of occupational health and in terms of management concerning occupational health and safety. It will also help you to meet legal requirements, to have incident reporting, investigations, and cost analysis, to control documents and records, to establish occupational health and safety policy in your company, establishing for the establishment of occupational health and safety objectives of your company, to have clear responsibilities and authority in your company, internal or external communications, management reviews, to have personnel training and competencies of those working in your company, emergency preparedness and response, internal audit planning and program, preventive and corrective actions, continual improvement of all what you are doing based on PDCE, what we call the Deming Wheel, plan, do, check, act. So for all what you have to do, you should plan. After planning, you should do it. You should do as you plan, and then you should check if things are done as you plan, and you can act after checking, act in order to lead things to go exactly how they were supposed to go. So that is what is proposed by this standard. And I would like us to be able to how to go through the standard. As I said, it's a standard made of 10 clauses. The first clause is the scope. The scope, we will talk about the standard, the scope of that standard, where is it that it is applied. The second one is the normative references. So it is about different standards that you are supposed to read, understand before going through this one. So if any standard exists and that needs to go through before coming back to this one, it is what is supposed to be given there, and it's the same structure for all standards that are coming since 2009 all new standards of management systems are supposed to have the same, quite the same structure. Clause 3 is based on terms of definitions, and the rest, the clause 4 is name. The title is context of the organizations. Clause 5, leadership and worker participations. Clause 6, planning. 7, support. 8, operation. 9, performance evaluation. 10, improvement. That's what we have. And each part here is has its own contribution in the PDCA. Will, plan, do, check, act. So the context is for the plan, leadership and worker participation is for all those elements. Planning is for plan, support and operation for do, 9, performance evaluation, take, and then 10 for act. And we have here the number of requirements that we have. And we will go through the standard next to understand what are those things called requirements in the standard. So we have up to 264 requirements here. So the first part, 4, context of the organizations, contains the requirements from the first one till the 11th one. That's why they are just 11. The clause 5, from the 12th requirements to the 59th requirements. And when we count, it gives 48 requirements. And what you should understand is also that in all those standards, requirements start at chapter 4 or clause 4 of the standard till clause 10. And I tried to extract the part of that standards talking about risk and hazards that we are learning today. In 6 planning, 6.1 is based on actions to address risks and opportunities with general hazards identification and assessments of risks and opportunities, determinations of legal requirements and other requirements. 6.1.4 planning action. So we should have a planning action to address risks and opportunities. It's also precise in 6.2 that we should base ourselves on operational health and safety objectives and planning to achieve them. So we should have operational health and safety objectives that are set, and then the planning that we are having to be sure that we are achieving all those objectives. Let's go to the contents of the ISO 2500. I'd like us to have a look on it here. The standard, you are supposed to buy your own standard. I don't know if by the end of this you can receive it free of charge. At the end of my presentation, you have my phone number. The phone number is a WhatsApp number for those who need it. We will see how to manage, but I'll precise that it's not free of charge. It's true that I can do it just for you. Okay, so occupational health and safety management system. Every time you have a particular standard in front of you, you should ask yourself, maybe we are not seeing, you could not see it. Okay, I hope you can see now. Here's the standard. We have our standard here that is called ISO 45001 and has those of British. They adopted this. That's why they call it, they put PS, that means British standard. But you should know that the standard starts at ISO, and the title, every time you have a standard, ask yourself, what is the title of the standard? What is the year of the standard? And then go to the table of content of the standard. Now here, the title is Occupational Health and Safety Management Systems, Requirements with Guidelines for Use. When you have it like this, as I said, the title will interest you, the date will interest you, and you should go straight, you can go straight to the content of the standard. But now we should take it once more. It is ISO 45001, first edition, published on the 12th of March 2018. And what is the title? The title is Occupational Health and Safety Management Systems, Requirements with Guidance for Use. Having this, and they also have it in French here, Système Management, la Santé, Sécurité au Travail, Exigences et Lignes Directrices pour leur utilisation. And we continue here with the copyright is there, that you should understand it, you are supposed to buy it. If your company is in the need of this, or if you want to implement in the company, you should have a standard in the name, on the name of the company. So the company should buy a standard, has it come up with the name of the company. And if it's not like that, it will be a non-conformity, a non-compliance, when the auditor will come to take and also to certify a company. Now, here is the contents. Here are the contents of the standards. We have the forward introduction, 1, scope, 2, normative references, 3, terms and definitions, 4, contents of the organization, 5, leadership and worker participation, 6, planning, 7, support, 8, operation, 9, performance evaluation, 10, improvement, as we said. And now we will notice that we have at 4, context of the organization, 4.1, understanding the organization and its context. And I would like you to understand that if you are just recruited in the company, you are supposed to understand what is done in that company in order to provide a safe place. You should understand what is done there. What are the methods used to understand the organization and its context? That's something that we are supposed to know. But in this case, generally in the context, in the understanding of the organizations and its context, internal and external issues that are irrelevant issues that can act or that can influence the outcome of the company. When they are saying like that, it is asked to find out what are the internal and external issues. To carry out this analysis, to find out those elements, we are supposed to use tools like the SWOT analysis. Carrying out a SWOT analysis is to have the strengths, weakness, opportunities, and traits that you should know concerning that company related to occupational health and safety. The 4.2 is understanding the needs and expectations of workers and other interested parties that you can have in your company. The 4.3, determining the scope and of the occupational health and safety management system. 4.4, occupational health and safety management system itself. What will be this? On 5, we have leadership and worker participation with 4.1, leadership and commitment, the commitment of the leadership in terms of occupational health and safety. We have 5.2, occupational health and safety policy. 5.3, it is about the, okay, I hope you can easily see it like this. 5.3, organizational roles, responsibilities, and authorities. 5.4, consultations and participations of workers. And here we have 6, then planning, actions to address risks and opportunities. And then we have general hazard identification, assessment of risk and opportunities, determination of legal requirements and other requirements, planning actions, and so on. Now, I'd like us to go directly in the standards. It will be up to you to read all those subtitles and to see how is the standard and how you should understand the standard. We have the 4 words here that you read to understand what is it about, because here we are going to precise that this standard will help you to be able to put in place a safe place, a safe workplace, and so on. We have the introduction here. An organization is responsible for the occupational health and safety of workers and others who can be affected by its activities. These responsibilities include promoting and protecting their physical and mental health. The adoption of this occupational health and safety management system is intended to enable an organization to provide safe and healthy workplaces, prevent work-related injuries and ill health, and continually improve its operational health and safety performance that should be followed. We have the aim of the standard that's given here. We have the success factors of implementing this that are given. We have the PDCA cycle that is explained here in this standard. You are supposed to read. And we also have the representation on PDCA of each chapter or article of this document that is presented here. The content of this document is presented, and I would like us to read here, to stop and read here. In this document, the following verbal forms are used: shall, indicates a requirement. Should indicates a recommendation. May indicates a permission. Can indicates a possibility or a capability. And while reading this standard, you should notice that informations made marked as notes is for guidance or in understanding or clarifying the associated requirement. Notes to entry used in clause 3 provides additional information that supplements the terminological data and can contain provision relating to the use of term. Why continue with this? We also continue with this by precising that we are at the scope. The scope, you read it, two normative references. There are no normative references in this document. So there are no standards that you should read before understanding this one. Terms and definitions, you are supposed to have the definitions that are here. You should master those definitions when you want to be real occupational health and safety manager of the company. So we have here interested parties or stakeholder. What is this about the worker, the participation, consultation, workplace, contractor requirements, legal requirements, or other requirements, management system, occupational health and safety management systems, and so on. You are supposed to read. And we go then to part 4, article 4 or clause 4. That is based on the context of the organization. Here is the where standards really start with the requirements. 4.1, understanding the organization and its context. The organization shall determine external and internal issues that are relevant to its purpose and that affect its ability to achieve the intended outcomes of its occupational health and safety management system. Here's what you are supposed to master to be able then. You are supposed to master this to know exactly what you are supposed to do to implement it on the field. Because implementing a particular standard, this standard or other standard that you will face is normally to really know what is supposed to be done to achieve, to have great results. Understanding, and here we have to know what it should be done. As we said, external and internal issues should be determined by taking in consideration the SWOT analysis. We can also have the pestle analysis. So that is about the political, economical, social, technological, ecological or environmental, and then legal aspects that you consider in your company. And we also have to take this, still on this one, we also have things that we should determine, like what is the vision of the company? What is the main mission of the company? What is the mission of the company? What is the main activities of the company? And then what are the values of the company? You should know all those elements just to satisfy this requirement. Then 4.2, the organization shall determine the other interested parties in addition to workers that are relevant to the occupational health and safety management system. You should ask yourself, it's true that they are already the workers that are concerned. What are other interested parties? Other interested parties can be the bank, can be the insurance, can be the government, and so on. And then you should ask yourself, what are the relevant needs and expectations of workers and other interested parties in this? And also which of these needs and expectations are or could become legal requirements or other requirements. So for all this, you should have a list of the main tip that I use is having the list of interested parties, asking yourself, what are the needs and expectations of each interested parties relating to occupational health and safety, and then try to analyze to know what are the relevant needs and expectations. To know the relevant needs and expectations, it will be the main process with risk assessment. So you will consider what is the likelihood of that need as expectations to have an influence in the results that we can have, the performance that we can have. And then what is the severity or what is the frequency of this? So we have the likelihood or frequency, we have the severity or consequence of it. And by using just this, we can ask the third one is the mastering. Do we really master this? Is it possible for us to modify it? So while considering those three elements, we can precise that for the gravity or severity or consequence, we can have a scale going from 1 to 4. Why 1 is just one, it is a very light thing, like, and 4 when it can lead to the death of somebody. We can have the consequence with the likelihood from 1 to 4, knowing that 1 is when it happens maybe one time per year, and 4 when it happens every day or when you are facing it every day. And we have the level of mastering. Do you really master it? Is it up to you? Is it possible for you to modify it, to control it? What is your level of control on it? That is the third element, and you can also have the scale from 1 to 4. And then you can multiply the values that you have for those three to have the criticity of each one, and you can fix your own threshold. Precisely, for example, that you have a threshold of 18. When having a threshold of 18 like that, all the elements that will have a criticity of higher than 18, greater than 18, will be considered like relevant for what you are studying. You will do it for the internal and external issues that you have in SWOT analysis. You also do it for the needs and expectations of interested parties. And you can then conclude that each interested party that you have at least one relevant need and expectation will be considered like relevant interested parties. You can do it like that. And there are many things in this that you are supposed to apply. You should determine, for example, here the organization should determine the boundaries and application of the occupational health and safety management system to establish its scope. So your company should know the occupational health and safety that we are putting in place. Is it going to cover the whole company and all the activities that we have there, or just a part of the company? Because you can decide to certify just a part of the company. Maybe you are working in a company and you have cars that are going on the way. You decide that all those cars going on the way are not considered by your management system. Maybe because you know that the risk that they are facing on the way they are trained for that is not correct or are not correct. So when determining this scope, the organization should consider the external and internal issues referred in 4.1, take into account the requirements referred in 4.2, take into account the plan. Occupational health and safety management system shall include, every time you are going through the sentence and then you see shall, it is a requirement, shall include the activities, products, and services within the organization's control or influence that can impact the organization's occupational health and safety performance. By having this, you should ask, every time you are reading the requirement, you should ask yourself, how can I put it in place? How can I put it in place? And that's why I'll lead us to understand, to see here what could be, how can be the computer of somebody who has implemented on the field an occupational health and safety management system. Here is it. We have when you go in a company where there is a management system in place, you will see things like this. There are folders like this. We have procedures for document and record control, project plan, occupational health and safety policy. We have the occupational health and safety manual, determining context, organizations, interested parties, competence, training, awareness procedure, address risk, opportunities, and occupational health hazards. There are many documents that these. When I open, for example, here, the procedures and documents, list of documents that we can have, We have lists of, you should provide a list of internal documents, list of external documents of your company. Among the external documents, you have the standards itself and the text of laws that you should also have, procedures for documents and record control. And here, the list of documents you can have like this. So it is just a list like this that we provide with the codes. Each list should have its own code with the title, the owner, and so on, and maybe and also the date, the version of the document. We also have, you can also have for these situations, the procedure for managing those documents. So concerning the procedures that we can have, we have this procedure for document and record control. Each document should have a code, a version that can have 0.1, 0.2, 1.1, 1.2, 1.0, 2.0, and so on, created by, approved by, date of version of the last version, the signature here, and we have the copy number for the distribution. Who can receive this document in your company? Can be distributed to, and it was distributed to at this date, signed by, returned on this date, signed by, if it was supposed to be returned. The change history from the 0.1 version, that was the document drafting. When you went to 0.2 version, what you did, you precise what you did exactly. We also have, for this, the table of contents, the purpose, scope, and users, reference document, control of document. How can you going to produce, to create and identify all documents in your company, document proposal, publishing, distributing, and assessing document, withdrawal of outdated document, document updates and changes, documents of external origin, records control, record managing and labeling, control availability, list of types of control, record achieving and destroying, managing records kept on the basis of this document, appendices, and so on. That is what we have for the whole contents of this. You should be able to produce all this. And when I'll come back in the list of documents that you can have in your company when you are implementing this standard, we go on risk assessment that can be done. For the risk, we can have a particular appendix made of hazards and risks that we can have. We can have the workplace, we can have the hazards, the risk, the severity of the risk, and so on. The risk significance, and so on. There are many things that we can provide concerning the risk assessment. So yes, what you are supposed to do if we have to implement the standards, and all these will lead us to be able to produce documents like this that will lead to that will allow to understand or to really implement the standard on the field. We have documentation, we have the list of documents that can be produced, and also their references as in the close of the ISO 45001. What of those documents that are known as to be mandatory documents? The list is here, procedure for document and record control that we saw with the list of internal, external, and so on. We have the project plan, that is a particular document, occupational health and safety policy that should be provided. Appendix 1 with the occupational health and safety objectives that are designed, occupational health and safety manual that is used. It is not compulsory document, but it is advised to have it. Procedures for determining context of the organization or interested parties. We also have Appendix 1, the list of interested parties, legal and other requirements that you should provide, and so on. So there are many documents like this that you are supposed to provide. We also have standard operational procedures for radioactive hazards, for electrical hazards, for working on height hazards, also for display screens and posture hazards, for personal protective equipment, for practice. We also have good practice for maintenance and tools and machinery. So standard operational procedures for operating heavy machinery and so on. So there are many documents that you are going to provide like that, at least 56 documents to fulfill the requirements. And all those documents should not be just papers, but they should be really applied on the field in your company. That's what I wanted us to know concerning the implementation of concerning this standard and also this implementation. Now let's continue with our presentation, and now we precise that these standards, to implement the standard, what are the steps? The step, you should get the support of your management, your top management. Top management should be really implicated in this process. You should know your legal requirements. You should ask yourself, what are different legal tests in your country that apply in your company in terms of occupational health and safety management? You take the list of all those requirements, go through the requirement, all those tests of legal tests, go through all those laws, and ask yourself what is your level of compliance for each test of law. You should be able at the end to say that, okay, we have 45% of compliance, we have 60%, and so on. And for the rest for which you are not compliant, you should have an action plan to address and to have the result. We should define the scope of your occupational health and safety management system. You should define the processes and procedures, implement occupational health and safety processes and procedures, train your employees and make them aware of all risk in your company, of all the processes that should be followed. Choose your certification body. What should be the organism that will come and certify your company? Are you going to work with Bureau Veritas, with SGS, and so on? You will use the use of occupational health and safety management system and keep records. You will do your internal audits. Before it, you are going to train internal auditors by taking a particular structure outside to come and train. Corrective actions. Do your management review. It is a meeting that you have with top management to talk about all what you did, to see the difficulties, how you address those difficulties, and also what are you going to do for the next year. It can be 1 time per year or 2 times per year. We have corrective actions too. We have certification audit that will take place, and then your company will be considered, if you are cover all the requirements, that your company will be considered like certified, ISO 45001 certified. And that implementation can be done according to PGCA that we have. And here we can have in plan, we understand the context of the organization, including occupational health and safety risks and opportunities, establishing occupational health and safety objectives, processes, resources, required to deliver results in accordance with the organization's policy, occupational health and safety policy. We will also implement, in terms of we will implement the processes as planned, including worker participation, hazard identification, and emergency preparedness. And to take, we will monitor, measure, and evaluate occupational health and safety activities and processes that we are having. And act will consist to take actions to continually improve, including findings of incidents, addressing non-conformance and audit findings. And what is then the risk assessment according to these standards? As we said, assessment process of ISO 35001 hazards, risks, and opportunities is based on 6.1, where they talked about risk actions to address risks and opportunities. The first step in risk analysis will be the hazard identification. We will identify the threats in the processes. The second step will be the risk assessment, identify the risk associated with your hazards. The third one, opportunity assessment, identified opportunities related to enhancing your occupational health and safety performance. And the fourth step will be to plan, to have a plan actions to address risks and opportunities in your company. And implementation of this standard can also take 31 steps. Those steps you are going to read while receiving the notes. The risk assessment now. How are we supposed to carry out the risk assessment? Importance of risk assessment. The risk assessment, we should start by precising what is the risk management. It can be defined that the eradication on minimization of the adverse effects of risk to which an organization is exposed. And it will help to process of identifying all hazards in the workplace. The main cause of occupational health and safety problems should be known, and we should then be able to eliminate the hazards or control risk in the best way to reduce workplace injuries and illness. Written risk assessment will provide proof that hazards were evaluated and appropriate actions taken to reduce the risk. So why having the document called risk assessment document, what they call risk register, which is the normal name, risk register? Why having a risk register? It shows that you have evaluated the hazards in your company, and also you decided to provide appropriate actions to reduce the risk. This proof can protect the business from legal liability and maybe use when it comes to raising awareness amongst contractors and employees about the potential risk of the workplace or the work site. And we should also know that somebody can die at their workplace, and you are supposed to prove that you have put in place actions before the accident comes and that it was really an accident. Appropriate risk control should be provided, and it will consist of feeling well actions to carry out, taking in consideration the hierarchy of risk control. What is the methodology of risk assessment that you are supposed to master? There are steps. Those steps are: first, identifying the hazards; two, evaluating associated risk; three, controlling the risk. So you will identify the hazards, then evaluate the associated risk. We start by asking ourselves, what are the associated risks? And then what is the evaluation that we have on those associated risks? And at last, control the risk. So all this will be in what we call the risk management. The risk management that will consist to identify the hazards, to ask ourselves what are the risks coming from each hazard, and at last carrying actions to reduce the risk. So for the risk assessment, you should characterize the activity, ask ourselves what are the activities that are being carried out, what are the hazard identification, what are the risks coming from those hazards, and we estimate the risk. And the option analysis we have here with the decision making. The implementation relate to the monitoring and audit or review. And also the hazard management can be presented like this. So you ask yourself, what are the hazards? Identifying hazards. You can do it by inspections, by visit, observations, incident, when there is an incident, a near miss, and also an accident. With the risk assessment, we take in consideration the frequency and duration of exposure, or the severity and consequence of the risk. And the risk control comes with the hierarchy of controls. So when you are facing a risk, what are the hierarchy of actions that you can have? And then we have the evaluation made of risks, hazards after control implemented. And the review will be the periodic review for continuous improvement. And this can be done by audits. Now, the methodology of risk assessment, the first step, as we said, is the hazard identification. You can use it. You can do it by having comparative methods. For example, having a checklist and audits. Fundamental audit methods can be the deviation analysis, hazard and operability studies, energy analysis, failure modes, effects, and effects analysis. It's up to you to see. And we also have the failure logic with the 4 trees, the event trees and cause consequence diagrams that can be used. And several different types of hazards exist. In this image that you have, you notice that there are people doing quite what they want, where they want, and so on. And in this situation, there are many hazards, at least 12 hazards that you can identify in this image. So there are physical risks, including the fact that you can fall on the workplace, sustaining injuries when lifting heavy materials or working with dangerous machinery. We have biological and chemical hazards, psychosocial hazards, and so on. And once you have identified the hazard in your workplace, you should consider why these hazards are harmful. What type of injuries or ill health can they cause? Hazards may pose a single threat. They may be harmful in more than one way. So you should ask yourself all this, and it could be done in a particular table. And how to start hazard identification, you should check your workplace for regular hazards assessment surveys of operations, equipment, substances, and tasks. A system of recording injuries, near miss, and identified hazards should be also provided here. Quantitative risk assessment can be done. We are here already on the risk assessment. On the risk, quantitative risk assessment is commonly used in the high technology industries. It tends to deal with the avoidance of low probability events with serious consequences to the plan and the surrounding events or an environment. And now to quantify the risk, as I previously said, we should multiply severity and likelihood. For example, the likely effect of an hazard may be with the rate like major, serious, light, or slight. So major is when it can lead to death or major injury or illness causing long-term disability too. Serious when you have injuries and illness causing short-term disability. And we have slight when all injuries, all other types of injuries and illnesses. And we also have concerning the severity. The severity, we have concerning the severity, high, medium, and low. We can have it high disability where it is certain that harm will occur. Medium when harm will often occur, and low when harm will seldom occur. And we have risk that is made of severity of harm multiplied by the likelihood of occurrence. This simple computation gives a risk value of between 1 to 9, enabling the roads and ready comparison of risk. And in this case, the lower number, the lower the number, the greater the risk. And so prioritizes the hazards so that control actions can be targeted at higher risk. So we can have like this, from 1 to 5 or from 1 to 4, up to you to see for the likelihood and for the severity. So we have 5 concerning the likelihood, that is almost certain. 4, likely, almost certain can be occurs approximately once a week. Let's start by 1. 1 is rare, likely occur less frequencies than once every 10 years. 2, unlikely, 5 to 10 years. 3, possibly once every 5 years. 4, once every year. 5, once a week. We can have for the risk severity, catastrophic for 5, major for 4, moderate for 3, 2 for minor, and also 1 considering negligible. This can be modified according to the level of risk or the level of activities that you are assessing. And this can lead you to have something like this. You can have a risk matrix made of likelihood 1 to 5, consequences 1 to 5 too. And when you have a likelihood of 1, consequence of 1, you will be in the case of 1, low. If you have 1 and 2, 1 like likelihood and 2 like consequences, you are in low 2 with the green color. If you have 2 and 2, you are in the yellow color. If you have 2 and 3, no, 2 and 4, or maybe 2 has consequence and 4 are like for likelihood, you can be in orange color, and you can also have situations of red color. And when you have situation of red color with the risk, it means that the action should be done immediately. We also have severity, with another table that can be used, another matrix that can be used like this, that is precise here. And now the methodology controlling risk. When you are having your risk and that you have tried, you draw a table where you put the severity and so on. The stage is of controlling risk is about taking actions to create a safe work environment. After evaluating the likelihood or severity of risk, precautions and control measures to put in place should come. Actions to be taken proportionate to the level of risk. All those elements are enter in the controlling of the risk. When selecting appropriate risk control, the hierarchy of controls should be used. In this, this is the system which aims to eliminate or minimize exposure to hazards. Here is the hierarchy of risk control. In front of the risk, you should ask yourself if you can eliminate it. If the elimination is not possible, ask yourself if you can replace what is dangerous by what is less or not dangerous, substitution. Then you ask yourself, what are the technical evolutions that can be used? Engineering control. After the engineering controls, if the risks are still exist, you ask yourself if there is a particular way to change people to change the way people are working by the administrative control. If not sufficient, you ask yourself if the PPEs, by protecting the workers with personal protective equipment, if it is sufficient to protect the control. We should then, by applying this, control effectiveness, have the control effectiveness and reduce as we want the risk. And now, facing the risk, there are four actions that you can do: risk avoidance, risk retention, risk transfer, and risk reduction. Risk avoidance will be for you to replace, for example, a hazardous chemical by one with less or no risk potential. Risk retention is the fact of retaining in the organization where any consequence loss is financed by the company. In this case, it is when you are working knowing that the risk is there. There is a risk transfer. The risk transfer is when, for example, you pay somebody to have your risk. It is a case of insurance, when you give the money to the insurance to carry on its own back your risk. The risk reduction will be here, the actions that you carry out to control measures according to the hierarchy of risk as we gave here. So by carrying out risk assessment and finding out the actions that can be done. Controlling the risk, we have examples of actions: safety training and supervision of new or young workers, protective clothing and equipment, safety discussions between employers, contractors, and employees, safety information readily available for hazardous substances, copy training and practice for each new piece of equipment. We can also have actions like anti-slippery factory, swimming pool, mobile platform, walkway, also, and so on. So such things can be done and proposed in the company. Here's an example of risk assessment. Example of risk assessment tool. Here we have risk assessment tool, principal investigator, department, binding, building, room number. We have on the first column hazard exposure category. Second column, we have how could you be exposed to these hazards. Third one, given the exposure, what is the negative outcome? And then we have the consequence, what are the expected harm, with the value from 0 to 5. We also have the column on existing control measure in place, probability value from 0 to 5. We have consequences before, then probability, then we have the risk rating number. We can have such table to carry out our risk assessment. Besides this, we can also have this table in the context of COVID-19. We have risk number R1, hazards, coronavirus, who might be affected by and how. Employees, including those considered like at increased risk. Employees who are not aware of the risk from COVID-19 and become infected due to lack of awareness of control measures. Details of recommended from the government or from the government, it is given. Evaluating the current control exists, new control measures that are recommended, by who, by when. All those elements should be filled. But this is for those who are doing, maybe for those who learn on the field how to do it. There are particular tables, simplified tables like this, and this is what I can advise you to use. You have hazards, cause, consequence, existing control, assessment, score, measures to be taken. For example, in this case, we have failing objects. The cause can be non-respect of staking rules, consequence, bone fracture, cut, slips, falls, merchandise damage, lateness of in expedition, existing control, housekeeping rules, and frequent sensitization. We have assessment. What is the severity? On a scale, it was up to those people. It is up to you to find out what is your scale. Here, it is going up to 20. We have 7 for the severity. For the probability, we have 1 because it's going from 1 to 4. And in the exposure, it is so the added exposure is here, and exposure to we have the values, and we can multiply or we can do as we want, and then the score is given. And if it is up to our, it is greater than our threshold, we precise the color. There are different thresholds with the different colors, and then the measures to be taken. Daily inspection by the hierarchy training program. We have an all electrical installations should be normalized and warning signs and signage be placed where necessary. Such things, you have table like this, and all elements that are red are supposed to be put in place immediately. We can also have a table like this. So we did analysis in the general environment of an enterprise, and here at the administrative block, we carry out analysis. We also have at the dietary and agricultural goods storage warehouse, and so on. As the conclusion of what we had to see today on risk and hazards and risk, we can just precise that managing hazards and risks as they are supposed to be is to be able to save lives. And then I can just thank you for your kind attention. I'm listening to you. I've finished. Any questions, please? You can unmute yourself, then ask your question, please. Any question? Yes, there are people raising hands. Yes. Okoli Kenneth. Yes.
Wait, hello?
Yes, I'm getting you.
Hello?
Yes. Are you getting me?
Bonsoir, monsieur.
Yes, bonsoir.
Yeah, bonsoir, monsieur.
Yes, bonsoir.
Okay. I'm happy for this wonderful presentation. Although the lecture is very, very, very voluminous. So
Yes.
it takes a lot of understanding to get. But as you are able,
I'm not getting you again. Is there any problem by your side? Okay, I'll stop sharing my screen. I hope like this is correct. There's also what they call a whiteboard. Yeah, somebody else. I'm not getting you, please. Somebody else.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, dear.
Sir, please, thank you for good lecture. I will suggest if you can give us your lecture, the script you can give us, that will help us a lot. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, you see with those who are organizing it, no problem. Okay.
hello?
Yes.
Hello, I'm back.
Okay. Welcome
Okay,
back.
sorry, I was having network problem. But I was trying to, say thank you for the wonderful presentation. Before I go to my question, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I'm getting you.
Okay. My question is, on this risk management system, risk analysis. The last picture, the second or the third to the last slide you showed, is that an example of a risk analysis write-up? Can it be written or it can be tabulated?
Yes. The picture, the table that we have here, yes. Here is it.
If you want to present to management, is it acceptable to give in a tabular form like that, or it should be a complete written document?
No, it is in the table. You can have it in the table like this. But before, you should precise exactly how you manage to have the table. To precise what is the severity, what leads you to have 1, 2, or 6, or 7 at those different levels.
Okay. That's what I'm
Start
saying.
by the, you should start by the methodology. You start by the methodology, and then you can give the rest in the table like this. And the table like this, it is the main form of carrying out the risk assessment. You can have a particular table like this, having all the risks of the company, all the risks of your company, and it is called risk register. And the risk register can be done like at the last column, like you saw here, measures to be taken. You can add other column where you precise maybe the deadline, the person who will be in charge, and maybe the resources that you will need. And this will be what they will call the prevention plan of your company.
Yeah, hello?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, I'm getting you.
Okay, my second question. Okay, my second question is actually on, you were talking about standards.
Yes.
The ISO 45001. So
Yes.
based on this standard, I mean, do we actually have preferential treatment to big companies or very small companies? Maybe you have company that is, how do I say it, a small scale industry, maybe like 10 employees, can they have operate under this ISO, or maybe for companies that are, really fully registered?
No matter the size of the company and the activities of the company, you can implement the standard. No problem.
Yeah,
everywhere.
Because where I'm driving at is it an offense for maybe a particular private firm not to have, compliance to these standards? Or what is the advantage of having it in a private firm? Thank you.
The main advantage is the fact of having the safe and healthy company, workplace, where people are quite sure that they will not have accident, where people are quite sure that your integrity will not be attacked, where people are quite sure that when you are going there, you are safe. You are safe. And then there's also the fact that they are partners. When the company is certified, ISO 45001, and that the company is looking for partners, the main partners that will be considered will be those who are certified too. Yes, engineer, there's somebody else, yes. Engineer Shamshudan.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Good evening, engineer.
Thank you. It's been a very wonderful presentation. Very educated and very voluminous, I can say.
Yes.
But my question here is that a company or an organization that wants to establish a health and safety management system, or let me say that wants to establish health and safety management department or unit, okay?
Yes.
Must it be necessary that the organization must be registered or must be certified by ISO 45001?
No, the requirements of ISO will lead you to create a safe and healthy workplace, as I said. Now, to be sure that all what is there will be exactly applied, you can go up to the certification. But you can also decide to implement the requirements just in order to create a particular workplace when there are not accidents. But when you are certified, you indicate to all those who be informed that your company is certified that there are many activities that are carried out. So it's a kind of recognition of what you are doing in terms of occupational health and safety. So you are not obliged to be certified, and the government will not oblige you to. No, the government cannot oblige the application of a standard. Government cannot oblige the application of an ISO standards. Generally, it is up to you to choose it because you have your own reasons, because maybe as we used to see in our country here in Cameroon, it is generally when somebody is looking for new markets and that the partner is asking for such certification that they decide to go on find out the certification.
Okay. Thank you very much. I understand.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, somebody else, please. As noticed, we went through the standards. Maybe by next training sessions, we see how to have a particular training on the standards alone before emphasizing on the risk assessment. Yes, Mr. Okoli Kenneth.
Yeah,
Bonsoir
once more,
encore.
sir.
Yes.
From your teachings today, we know we talked about 5WH, and you also mentioned 5M. So, but the 5M is not very clear.
Yes, you are right. It's when we are trying to use it in English, it is not really clear, as you said, because it is integrated the methods and so on, but not exactly. So if you know what they call the Ishikawa diagram, you know it? Do you know the Ishikawa diagram, or somebody else can talk about the Ishikawa diagram? Ishikawa diagram is also called the 5M diagram. Are you getting me? So in this 5M, when you are trying to assess some activity in a company, you have the 5M. The first M, as I said, is a machine. There is a material. There is a man or mind power. We have the measurement or medium. This is 5. Machine, method, material, manpower, and measurement or medium. That's what they call the 5M. And by the end of this, I'll have many documents that I can share with you. For example, occupational health and safety management documents in English that I can share with you. So you just have to take my phone number. Where is it here? So the first one, and you read to that first one, and you receive documents that will really lead you to understand, or maybe I can give to those organizing the event as you directly receive from them. Other question? Yes, Mr. Okoli Kenneth.
Yeah, again, can we discuss what are the benefit of risk assessment, the major benefits to organization, and how how is the tax? Is the tax a very heavy tax? Is it depending on the scope of the risk assessment? You know, and again, you talked about documents that you have. Is it how many number of documents? So all these documents we are talking about, you know, how is the safety department able to work with all this number of documents, you know, to be able to present a very good safety management system? Thank you.
Thank you. So, risk assessment, the main use of it is to know what are the different hazards that you have and also the risk in your company, and to be able to avoid them, to limit them. And it is something that we talked about quite at the beginning of this. So the need, what is the importance of the risk assessment, which is about the risk that you have in order, why mastering the risk in the addressing the risk in your company is to create a safe place. And now the task, is it easy or heavy? I cannot exactly talk about, but it's just an activity that needs to be concentrated, and generally it's not done alone. So you should create a team in your company, a particular committee in charge of occupational health and safety that will work on it. And now for the documents as we presented here, if the company is supposed to be certified, the documents that are presented are just for the requirements of ISO 45001. And now besides the table to have to carry out analysis, it is up to you to draw it as you want. Yeah, somebody's asking if I can briefly explain the approach and stages of establishing occupational safety and health department in an organization. There is not a particular approach. If there is a need of it in the company, it is up to the top management who really understand what is the safety management system, what is the occupational health and safety. It is up to the top management to just appoint somebody in charge of occupational health and safety. So it is up to you then to directly ask the person, ask the top management, or show to the top management what is the top management is losing in the company due to the fact that there is not a department in charge of occupational health and safety. And you know that the top managers generally they are hearing the language of money. So try to show to your top manager what is the amount of money that he is losing by not having it, and also the money that you can lose. For example, if somebody dies there, if the machine costs the hand of somebody and so on, what he's supposed to pay, and why just having a safety manager will be a particular advantage for him. How can I learn how all these ISO? No, the ISO, as I said, you are supposed to buy it. So if we can help you to have something, yes, we will do it. But as I said, it is you are supposed to buy it. Officially, you are not supposed to receive it from somebody, but I'll say what to do for you. So I just told you what you can do to establish it in the company. Somebody else with another question? If we are finished like this, we will stop. Just saying goodbye for today. I have a problem with my camera. I don't know if you can see me.
I can only see you very faint.
Okay, what I will do, I will connect with my phone, and we can see how to meet and say goodbye for today. So we are finished with what we have to do today. I'm very happy to have you here.
Hello, sir. I'm back again.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Hello.
Yes.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, yes, I'm getting you.
My question. I was the one that wrote. Okay.
Try to see
Hello.
where there's noise. Yes, yes.
Okay. I'm talking about the stages. I mean, after the organization or maybe the top management has approved the establishment of the health and safety department, you understand? So
Yes.
what are the approaches like as a safety manager, or maybe they approved and then they appoint someone to be in charge of the occupational safety and health? So what are the approaches to be followed in establishing the department? What are the stages? What can you do to ensure the successful or smooth establishment of the department? I don't know if you get my point.
You want to know what the department is supposed to do or how they should manage to just create the department?
Yeah, to create the department, what are the approaches, stages, what they're supposed to do?
There are no stages. They
Maybe
just need to appoint if there is a need.
Now,
If
hello?
there is a need, are you getting me? If there is a need, they just appoint somebody for it.
Okay, there is need, and like what is happening in Nigeria right now, okay? There is a circular by the federal government through the office of the head of service that each and every organization must establish the health and occupational health and safety department.
Yes.
You understand?
I understand.
So it's like a law now. It's like law is mandatory for each and every organization to have the department. How they start Navicom in most of the organizations. Okay. So now what, of course, since it's approved already, and the appointment of the occupational health and safety manager must be done. So what the department, the approaches to be considered, or what are the stages to ensure the establishment of the department? That's what
there are no stages. What I said is that if the law is asking to create a department, the head of the company will just take his pen and write down that henceforth there is a new department called Occupational Health and Safety Department, and that will be ruled by this body, this person. Full stop. And now, if there are other things to know, it is about how they are going to work. What are they going to do? If they are appointed, it is because there is a particular test of law about what is supposed to be done in terms of occupational health and safety in the company, in the companies in the whole country. It's a particular regulation on it. So that test of law will be one of the support of one of the notes to be used. And we can also, if the company decides to be in ISO standards, the ISO standards can also be a reference to be used. Now, in the process, normally what you have to do will be to take maybe the law, the test of law, the regulation on occupational health and safety, and ask yourself if in the company, each element that is supposed to be done is already done. At the end, it will be possible to know the level of compliance to the test of law. Maybe we are at 45%, maybe 65%, and then what for the rest? For the rest, for each activity that is supposed to be carried out, I should precise who will do it and what would be the deadline. It will be in the table. When I provide it like that, I'm already on the occupational health and safety work. I can also do it with the standard. And all this will be in what we call plan. As I said, you should go on the way of PTCA cycle. You should plan. After planning, you will do what you plan. After doing what you plan, you will finally you will check that you are doing what you plan, and for the result that you have there, you see how to apply. That's all. So to create, there is not a particular process. Other question? Somebody wrote something here. Yes, there is somebody who would like to complete. Yes, you can go. You can go ahead, Mr. Richmond, please.
Hello, thank you, House. It has been a very brief, precise presentation this evening. Just to add up to the answer to the very last question. Sorry, background because I'm in a vehicle. If you want to establish a safety unit in your organization, it is not a one-time thing that we can easily discuss on the platform here. So you will need a body to help you to do such a work and really do it well. Like
Yes.
OSHAssociation in Ghana, we are helping a government organization to establish the safety department. Started last year and we are still ongoing. Once occasionally we are called upon to straighten up certain things. So it is not a one-day thing. Thank God where you are, you have a body there. So you can contact the secretariat, the office, and they will help you step-by-step process. It's going to take you a year, 2 years to really stand on your feet. It's like giving birth to a baby. The baby will need to take in milk, start crawling before you start to learn how to walk, before you start walking, running, and you get to a stage, you said, now I'm a man or I'm a girl. You get it? So it's a process. It's not a one-time thing. So that is it. Contact the office and let them help you to do establishment and do it well. It also comes with documentation, which you cannot just sit in the office and do it once you don't have the ideas. So you need somebody who has the ideas to help you in implementing or coming up with those documents so that you can implement them in the organization. Yeah, so just to bring the whole thing in conclusion, God willing, tomorrow we'll be meeting at the same time, 6 p.m. GMT and 5 p.m. Ghana time. So we really thank Doctor for the presentation, and we really thank all the delegates for being on board. It's 8 o'clock, which means our time is up to close the session. Mr. Stephen, are you around? I've not heard from you. Stephen. Yeah, Mr. Stephen. Yeah, like doctor said, he's having problem with his device. So we can just unmute ourselves and give a shout out, and Mr. Stephen will close the session for us. Thank you so much.
Okay, so bye then.
So, Doctor, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Somebody else, thank you. Thanks a lot for the details.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate great lecture. So loaded anyway.
Thank you.
I can read, but great lecture. Thanks. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go bye.
Thank
Let's
you
see
very
next
much.
time.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
For the presentation. Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Thank you.
Mr.
Bye-bye.
Richmond, thank you. Doctor, thank you for
Bye-bye.
your
Bye-bye.
presentation.